From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A battle is brewing in Wyoming over what our children are being taught in school. The state rolled out a new curriculum transparency website this week. We told you about that, where districts post lesson plans and materials. But as Jackie Coffin reports, some believe this is nothing more than a political stunt.
Wyoming is unique. We have a strong belief in local control.
2,000 students and 400 employees make up Park County School District 6.
Very unique and beautiful area.
In this school district is trying out something new.
It's a resource that's out there that parents can access and which can create positive conversation.
The District Curriculum Transparency Initiative is part of Superintendent of Public Instruction Megan Degenfelder's 4-year strategic plan. Now on the Wyoming Department of Education's website is a set of documents where the public can see the primary text being taught in each subject for each grade.
Right now this is just primary resource because there are supplemental resources that teachers do use. Social studies is a great example. If they have current events, that's not necessarily something you can plan what you want to talk about, but you're going to be able to look at different news medias and pick different articles and things like that.
It's something these school leaders have embraced.
Parents are more involved now than they ever been before, and they want to know what's being taught within the classrooms, and we strongly believe in that collaboration in Park 6 with our parents.
But across Wyoming, other parents are paying attention and see the new initiative as something much different.
I think that the curriculum transparency is just another way to push the narrative that our teachers, our educators, our librarians are pushing politics on our kids or teaching inappropriate materials.
Mandy Weaver lives in Worland and has 2 kids in Washington County District 1. The new transparency initiative has not yet been launched there, and Weaver says she doesn't think it's necessary.
I've had kids in school for a long time, and I have never, ever had an issue finding out what's going on by calling the school and speaking to the teachers.
R.J. Lennox, a former teacher who lives in Cheyenne, shares Weaver's concerns.
This is already available for parents. So then I thought, well, why are we doing this? And to me, it's just a politicizing of this process.
But Orndorff argues transparency is never a bad thing, especially in a case like this, where it comes at no cost to the district.
We're doing some great things in Park 6, and we want to celebrate those things.
Meanwhile, here in Billings, proponents of school choice held a rally. They're hoping to increase opportunities for students, with many there also expressing concern about their kids' education. Q2's David J. takes a closer look.
National School Choice Week, and they rallied here on the Yellowstone County Courthouse lawn. Some students from some of the schools in the area showed up, and the speakers talked about how Montana is a little bit behind the rest of the country, but also some things are moving in the direction to give families a little more choice as well. At a time when Montana is set to open its first state-approved charter schools, students and others gathered Friday to show their support for school choice.
I'm really proud to celebrate with you guys your parents' choice.
Cheryl Tuscan has 2 children whose education has included public schools, a charter school, and currently homeschool.
School choice has been such an amazing opportunity for my family.
Tuscan is also the education outreach coordinator for the Frontier Institute, which advocates for school choice.
We can put in our Christian values into their education since we can't afford private school. So we chose to homeschool so that we could build those things into their worldview.
Why do we celebrate all those different aspects of education? We celebrate them because every child learns differently.
Jeff Laszloffy, president of the Montana Family Foundation, says other states are ahead of Montana when it comes to school choice options. Nationwide, 15% of children are receiving their education outside the public school system. The website edchoice.org shows a little less in Montana. 91% of students attend public schools, 5% are in private schools, and 4% are homeschooled.
And basically what we see is strong uptake at the beginning. All the kids that are struggling in whatever setting they're in now find a place that fits, and then the number of kids moving from one setting to another begins to taper off.
But new options are emerging. Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arnson also spoke at the rally. Just this month, Montana's Board of Public Education approved applications for 19 new charter schools across the state, including 3 in Billings.
It doesn't matter if it's a brick public school or a private school or a Christian school or your kitchen table. It's about learning.
I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that we're going to have here in our state moving forward with new options.
Options that parents here say are long overdue. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Reimbursement funds are now available to help Montana schools remove lead from drinking water. That's a problem, especially in many older schools where it gets into the water through piping or fixtures. The last legislature provided $3.7 million for schools participating in the lead reduction in school drinking water program implemented by Montana's DEQ. Each facility will be able to get up to $50,000 on a first-come, first-served basis to remedy the problem. The Montana DEQ says that 70% of Montana schools have had at least one exceedance of lead in the drinking water.
And good Friday evening, everyone. Taking a live look outside on our Stockman Bank camera. Another above average day for us. The sun is already set with our delayed start because of the golf tournament. But as you can see, the temperatures didn't feel like January at all. We had a low this morning of 27 degrees, a far cry from the record low of 27 below from 1972. We don't need any of that nonsense, although 2 weeks ago this morning, we had a record-breaking, or I was close to record-breaking at 25 below. The following morning was 26 below. Today's high, not bad at all for late January. We rose up to 49 degrees, not a record breaker, but we may be threatening some records by next week. Currently, a partly cloudy sky over the Magic City. 40 degrees, not too much wind, only 8 miles an hour to the west, and that's putting the wind chill down a little bit, down to 34 degrees. Now, have your forecast for the weekend as well as the next 7 days coming up in just a few minutes.
Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks announces its intent to sue the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service over its recent listing of wolverines as a threatened species. The government announced its final rule in late November, listing the distinct population segment of the North American wolverine in the contiguous U.S. as a threatened species. Montana says designating wolverines in the lower 48 as a distinct population is a change from previous considerations connecting the U.S. population of the species to the Canadian population, and adds that killing wolverines is already prohibited under state and federal law. The state also says that decision uses climate models from the future and projected future snowpack to justify its ruling, and ignores the studies that show wolverines can den without snow. Congressman Matt Rosendale is making several appearances this weekend in Montana alongside Florida Republican Matt Gaetz. The two are making stops in Helena, Townsend, and Bozeman. It's heightening speculation that Rosendale will jump into the race for Senate. Right-wing podcast host Steve Bannon teased that Rosendale will be on his show next Thursday with a special announcement. That would likely set up a primary showdown between Rosendale and Tim Sheehy as Republicans look to challenge Democrat John Tester in the fall. Tester, meanwhile, was in Bozeman today speaking alongside veterans about how his PACT Act has helped them get long overdue health benefits. The PACT Act is the largest expansion of veterans' health care in the history of the VA and will help those exposed to toxic chemicals during their service.
No one expected to be in southern Afghanistan and then 10 years later sitting on an emergency room table having something cut out of you because of what happened.
The PACT Act is a game changer. And the only way that veterans can be eligible is if they sign up.
More than 1.3 million claims have been filed since the PACT Act was signed into law. Yesterday, more than 100 people were fooled by a Facebook post claiming John Mayer was hosting a free impromptu concert at Bozeman's Cooper Park. Mayer is a Paradise Valley resident, and some bystanders claim to have seen the artist at a local cafe where the event was supposedly conceived. The group didn't leave without hearing at least some music, though. Local artists stepped in to play some of their own stuff when it became clear that the rock star was not going to show. Proof that if you didn't already know it, not everything you see on social media can be trusted. Up next, as we continue our coverage of News Literacy Week, the importance of being a critical news consumer during this election year. And later in sports, Alec will get you ready for our high school spotlight game of the week. We'll be right back.